Okay, we're looking at the kit that comes with the Tesla. It comes with this plug for 15 amp, 120 volt. Tesla tells me this is what you're supposed to keep in your car for emergencies. Nobody does this. This charger, that's this part here, it's not really a charger, but adapter or something. That is capable of handling 30 amps at 240 volts. That's probably what you're going to use to charge a car. It's not as big as I'd like because the car could actually handle 48 amps, the Model S can anyway. And for that I would have to have a wall charger. Well, Tesla wants you to buy the wall charger for another 500 bucks. What I'm going to go over on this video, charging with 120 volts. If that's your only option for charging, then that's what you do. Maybe you don't have a garage, maybe you live in multifamily, something. If there is a 15 amp outlet, you can use this to charge. And I'm going to go over what I think you should do if you decide to charge with this. Okay, here's kind of the standard that you would have in a garage, you know, behind the snowblower or something. And you got a 15 amp circuit there that you could use to hook that 120 volt into. Now, should you? Okay, there's one component plugged into one of the outlets that draws a tiny bit of power. There's also another circuit, if you see the yellow wire behind it, that goes up to another circuit that doesn't draw hardly anything either. But this outlet is ground fault protected from the kitchen. So it's actually one of the kitchen outlets that it's hooked up to. It's not what we call a dedicated circuit. Dedicated circuit means that's the only place that circuit goes. So it's a 20 amp circuit, a 15 amp outlet, which is all legal and stuff, but there are other components on it. There is, maybe I'll hook up the toaster or something like that. Okay, if I'm charging the car with this at 120 volts, I'm going to have it on there all the time. Virtually every time I come into the garage or wherever I'm parking, that is going to be plugged in because it's so slow. It charges at 3 or 4 miles per hour. Okay, that's going to be plugged in all the time. What's going to happen, it's going to overload the circuit. I'll be drawing 12 amps from that, and I got a 20 amp circuit. I'm in the kitchen, I turn on my toaster, which draws another 10 amps, and I'm at 22 amps, and then I turn on the coffee pot, and all that's over. Pink, you know, gonna kick the brake. So that's not the one I'd hook it up to. I guess you could do it in a pinch. I have actually charged electric cars off of outlets like this before, and I had to hunt around the house, not my own home, to find one that didn't have a bunch of other things in the circuit and that would kick off after 10 or 15 minutes. So, not a good idea to use that. Now, there's another option. Here's another option. That's also a ground faulted circuit. You don't have to hook up to a ground faulted circuit, by the way, to operate these things. They have their own ground fault in them. I could hook it up to there, but I have the same limitations. It's an outside outlet, but it's the same limitations I'd have in that garage circuit. That is probably hooked up to a circuit that runs outlets in maybe the bedroom or something like that. So you may also have kickoffs with any of the outside outlets. This is actually what I want a 120 volt circuit to be hooked up to if I'm going to charge my car. It's in a garage. It's ground fault protected. Doesn't really need to be, but if it's in a garage, code is that they be ground fault protected. It is not a 15 amp outlet. It's a 20 amp outlet. So it's got this little T-shaped thing. Now this is all North America stuff. I don't know anything about European, so I don't really talk about the European stuff. But that is the only circuit I would trust for this, because it's 20 amps. What I want to do is run that 15 amp cord that I have for the charging system. I want to run that on that 20 amp circuit. So why do I want to run a 20 amp outlet? By the way, that was a dedicated circuit I was showing to you. There was no other components, loads on that line anywhere. So it had a one breaker, 20 amp breaker. All it did is handle that dedicated breaker. Okay, and I put a 20 amp outlet in it instead of a 15. And I'm going to run it on 12 amps. So why did I run 12 amps on a 20 volt circuit? Because I don't want to overload the plug. If I run a 15 amp plug at 12 amps and it is running 15 hours a day, which it could very well do, there's a really good chance that I'm going to burn up that outlet with a possible fire. Hopefully the charger has a arc fault protection in it, which would probably shut it down. I wouldn't guarantee it. I know it has a ground fault, but probably has an arc fault in it too. So if there's an arc, it should shut it off. But it is going to burn up the outlet, and there's no situation where you've got the outlet that has other circuits on it and it kicks off, shuts your car off, doesn't charge the car. Yeah, it'll tell you it's not charging. It'll send you a message it's not charging, but you're not always available to go in there and deal with the problem. Now I use a 240 volt 30 amp circuit to charge my car. But if you don't have that option, if there's no way you can do that, this is probably your best option, is using that 20 amp ground fault circuit that is dedicated. And you're going to have to have an electrician actually put this in, or if you're handy you can do it yourself. But that's the best way to charge if your only option is 120 volts. I hope this thing makes some sense. And that's it on this one.